Not many fighters have been able to blast onto the UFC scene and obliterate everyone in their path. But Lyoto Machida was different. He came into the UFC with limited MMA training, but broke down champion after champion like it was no big deal. BJ Penn, Rich Franklin, and even Tito Ortiz. No one was able to take him down. And it wasn't beginner's luck. He had a trick up his sleeve, one he'd been working on since he was born. He got into karate at the age of 3, since his father was a Shotokan karate master, Lyoto Machida, and while he did move to Brazil from Japan, he wanted his sons to know karate inside and out, so he got them started really young. By the time he was 13, he was already a black belt, and became an inspiration for not only the younger kids just getting into Japanese karate, but older people too. It was a force to be reckoned with, and no one could ignore it. But when you're this skilled, there's no ceiling that can hold you back. You're always going to want the next best thing. For Lyoto, it wasn't the shiny new phones or unlimited amounts of money. He was hungry to become the best of the best at everything he did. While his father wanted him to keep his focus lasered in on Japanese karate, he did what any teenager would do by sneaking out behind his back and started doing his own thing, and started exploring other combat sports too. At 15 years old, he saw his first UFC fight, and he was hooked. The kid who inspired everyone around him was finally inspired by something himself, and he couldn't get enough. He immediately researched jiu-jitsu and other MMA forms and started training on his own. And soon, he had gotten to a point where he could think about potentially competing in a match himself. But to do that, he needed his father on board, who hated the concept of mixed martial arts, going so far as to call it an abomination. That didn't really change anything for Lyoto though, so he tried to train on his own anyway. Seeing his son's determination, Yoshito introduced him to his friend, Antonio Inoki, who used to be a pro wrestler. Together, they made strides, and Machida moved to Japan with them, and there, his life changed. He made his debut in the MMA world 3 years after moving on May 2, 2003, and he dominated from that very first fight. But it wasn't until his second fight that he realized he could incorporate his karate skills into wrestling too. And well, no one was ready for it. The fight was against UFC Hall of Famer Stephan Bonnar, who had an all-win record until this fight. Machida didn't just win, he went in so hard that the fight had to be called off by the medical team so Bonnar could walk away without lifelong injuries. That fight really put Machida on the map, and it was clear that even though he was a newbie in the wrestling world as a professional, his skill set was something that couldn't be ignored. On December 31, 2003, at Inoki Bombaye 2003, Lyoto Machida faced off against Rich Franklin in a catchweight bout, both weighing 214 pounds, in front of a crowd of over 40,000 at Kobe Wing Stadium. Machida secured a second-round TKO victory. He began by totally debilitating Franklin with a counter left punch, followed by a knockout front kick to the face and a series of punches. It got so bad so fast that the referee stopped the fight. This bout marked Franklin's first professional loss, and with that, the world knew that Machida was the man who could destroy records and winning streaks like it was no big deal. Even kickboxers like Michael McDonald weren't any match for him. Machida was a TKO machine. I mean, both Sam Greco and BJ Penn suffered at his hands, and they couldn't even hold their ground long enough to make it seem like they could beat him. But with these wins, it was clear that Machida was capable of making his dream of getting into the UFC Octagon a reality. So that's what he did next. He packed up his bags and moved to the United States. He made his UFC debut on the preliminary card of UFC 67 against Sam Hoger, and Sam didn't know the force he was reckoning with. The thing is, this was the prime time when the world was really getting into MMA. Everyone thought that MMA was the way forward, and that traditional fighters skilled in karate would just fade away. So not only did Machida have to prove that he was a great fighter, he was also carrying his father's legacy on his shoulders. Even though he fought to move on from traditional karate and was inspired by the world of MMA, he wanted the world to get a glimpse into his father's teachings too. They were his Swiss knife that got him to the point he was at, and they were going to be key for him to get even further. It was unbelievable to see his distance control and sparing attacks, as he was technically still pretty new to the field. He even won the fight against Kazuhiro Nakamura at UFC 76 with a unanimous decision from the judges, all scoring at 30-27 in his favor. Machida's strengths were clear. He executed 5 takedowns and dominated with 32 ground strikes to Nakamura's 3. He also landed 50 significant strikes, while Nakamura only managed 13. Machida controlled the fight's space with his elusive style and counter-striking. This combination of superior skills in striking, grappling, and fight management led to Machida's well-deserved victory. Although it was found that Nakamura had marijuana in his system, which would have taken the win from him even if he did manage to take Machida down anyway. But what would happen if he met someone in the Octagon with a similar skill set? That's the question everyone was asking. And Ramo Thierry Sokoudjo was supposed to bring in the answer. The two fought at UFC 79 on December 29, 2007, and all eyes were on them. Sokoudjo was a judo practitioner, making his UFC debut after scoring upset knockout victories over Pride veterans Antonio Rogerio Nogueira and Ricardo Arona. So both of the fighters were coming in from career highs, wanting to keep their streak going. While both of them were on a somewhat level playing field, but in the second round things took a turn. Machida took Sokoudjo down and secured an arm triangle choke, leading to Sokoudjo's submission at 4:20. With this victory, Machida's record improved to an impressive 12-0, firmly establishing him as one of the top light heavyweights in the UFC. Machida was on fire, and it seemed like no one could put it out. But if anyone could even come close, it would be Tito Ortiz. And it was only a matter of time before the two met in the ring. At UFC 84, Lyoto Machida faced former UFC light heavyweight champion Tito Ortiz in what was believed to be Ortiz's last UFC bout due to a dispute with UFC President Dana White. It seemed like Machida had met his match and had to be very quick in the ring to get ahead of Ortiz's takedown attempts. In the closing moments of the third round, Machida landed a knee to Ortiz's body, causing a knockdown. Ortiz nearly secured a triangle choke, then transitioned to an armbar attempt with only 25 seconds left on the clock. But Machida managed to escape and pin Ortiz down. The fight concluded with Machida winning by unanimous decision, with all judges scoring at 30-27 in his favor. Dana White later revealed that he personally awarded Machida a check for defeating Ortiz, marking the only time he had done that for a fighter. Through the next decade, Machida brought down almost everyone he fought against, proving time and time again that he meant business, even without the UFC's support backing him up. In 2018, he ended up leaving the UFC for Bellator MMA, but even then, his explosiveness stayed the same. Now, at the age of 45, his career has slowed down a little, with occasional fights and losses. But despite that, he dominated the MMA world for over 2 decades. And no matter how his career might pan out in the future, one thing's for certain: Lyoto Machida's name will go down in history as one of the best fighters the world has ever seen.